take a look at this excellent problem out of the 3.4 homework. It's a problem where we have a product rule within a quotient rule problem. And then after you take the derivative, there's some fairly difficult algebra to simplify it down. Now, for testing purposes, I would be fine with just the derivative part, but we'll go ahead and work it like MyLab wants us to do here. So looking at this one here, our original function h of x is equal to x plus 6 over 7x squared e to the x. Notice I went ahead and I put the parentheses there in the denominator just to make sure that we can see there are two terms being multiplied in that denominator. Now, when I take the derivative formula tells me to square my denominator, so I'll go ahead and do that. And then I'm showing where I'm going to take the derivative. So I'm saying here, I'm going to take the derivative of the numerator times the denominator minus the numerator and then times the derivative of the denominator. And here's where I had to remind myself there is a product in there when I have to take the derivative of the denominator, so I'll have to account for that. Now, next step, I start taking the derivatives. This is just the setup process. You do not have to show this step. But if you're thinking about partial credit, that's a step you may want to show. It lets me see that you at least know where the derivative needs to be taken. Now in this next step, when I take the derivative here, derivative of x plus 6 is just 1 times times the denominator, 7x squared e to the x, minus the numerator, x plus 6, now times the derivative of the denominator. So I had to say derivative of the first, derivative of 7x squared is 14x, times the second, e to the x, plus the first, 7x squared, times the derivative of the second. Well, derivative of e to the x is e to the x. So I get this function in there for the derivatives in the numerator. Notice I went ahead and squared out my denominator. When you square out a product, every term of the product is just raised to that power. So 7 squared is 49. X squared raised to the second is x to the fourth. And e to the x raised to the second is e to the 2x power. So now I can say, okay, that would be adequate, but we can simplify that down some. That's what MyLab's wanting us to do. It's also bad form to have a product in there anytime it's not a factor. So I wanted to go ahead and factor this group. I saw that I would have a lot of common factors between the terms in this group and what I have here and what I have down here that will probably cancel out. So from this step to this step, that's what I concentrated on. I just rewrote the first term, 1 times any group is just that group, minus x plus 6. And now I took the greatest common factor out of these two terms, and I said, well, they have a greatest common factor of 7x e to the x between them. So I factored that out. When I factored that out, it left me a 2 for the first term and only an x for the second term. Okay, now I can see that this is my first term in the numerator. All of this is my second term in the numerator. Both that first and second term have this group right here as a greatest common factor. So now I'm going to pull that out of the entire numerator, 7x e to the x. When I factor it out of the first term, I'm going to have that 1 power of x left over. That's where that came from. When I factor it out of the second term, that whole group is gone, and you're just going to have x plus 6 times 2 plus x. That's where that came from. Notice I haven't touched my denominator yet. But here's the point where we can change the denominator, because now this group is a factor in the numerator, so it can and should be simplified down with our denominator. So I said, well, 7 will go into 49 and leave me a factor of 7 in the denominator. X will go into x to the fourth and leave me an x cubed. That's right there. And then e to the x will cancel with one of the e to the x's in the denominator and leave me an e to the x in the denominator. Now notice, When I reduced that down, this entirely canceled out in the numerator. So my only numerator is x minus this product. What I did in this step is I just FOILed this group out. We know that we're subtracting the entire product here. And then after that, I just simplified. I said my final answer will be negative x squared. X minus 8x is going to give me minus 7x. And then I'll have a minus 12 in the numerator all over that reduced down denominator of 7x to the third e to the x. Love this problem. This one is what I would call gorgeous. That is a wonderful problem. Hope that helps you out.